Now that I'm actually a 70-year-old entrepreneur, and I think back to early 20s, late teens, maybe even up till I was 30 years old, oh my goodness, what I wished then that I knew now. It would be just extraordinary, the progression of the success I would have had. I'm going to share the insights of just looking back to that time in my life. Stuff you really need to know, especially if you're in that phase where you're thinking about risking yourself to set up your business, you're thinking about expanding your business, you're thinking about even changing career. I'll share some amazing stuff with you. I genuinely wish I knew about that when I was 20, when I was approaching 30, even when I was 18 years old. Oh my goodness. So one of the first thing you've got to understand is, first of all, you've got to take risks. And when you do take risks, you've got to accept that not all the risks you take are going to work in your favour. You're going to have lots of setbacks. You're going to have things go wrong. People let you down. What you really believed would work doesn't work. But what you find with this is you gain experience. You gain experience and you learn so much about yourself, understanding what maybe your product is, understanding your service for others. And then what you find is, because you understand that that's part of the process, so-called failure is how you get to success. You just, when they come along, you accept them. You almost celebrate, yes, another failure. I'm getting closer to success. And that's what you need. You need that resilience to keep going. Listen to this, to keep going when other people always give up and walk away from their potential. Please understand this. Taking risks, getting out of your comfort zone, that's what it's all about. And so-called failure is the road to success. Trust yourself. You can do it. So in the beginning, when you've got clarity about the end result you wish to manifest, what you've got to understand is that money becomes obviously a great resource, but you've got to understand that money is actually an energy that flows in. I'm sitting by a river right now, it's flowing past. That's how money works. It flows in and it flows out. And what a lot of people do, unfortunately, at the beginning of setting up their businesses, they don't take risk with money, because at some level of consciousness they fear that it's going to go away or it's going to stop coming to them. And as soon as you come from, I'm going to use this phrase, a poverty consciousness, you block the flow of money coming to you because you hold it back to yourself. You're late in paying your bills, you're frightened to give away money, and when you have to spend money in your business, you see it as a cost. You don't see it as actually an investment. That's what it is. So you've got to let lots of money in and you've got to let lots of money out. So here's my tip to you if you're at the beginning. Every single time that you're spending money on building your career and building your business and building your service, spend it with joy. Spend it with an attitude that says, I'm sending this out, listen to this, I'm sending this money out with joy into the universe, knowing that it will come back to me multiplied. I'll say that again, it's really powerful. This amount that I'm spending right now goes out into the universe. I'm spending it with joy because I know it will come back to me multiplied. Do you know what? I used to actually, you won't remember this, many of you, there used to be something called checks. And it said at the top of it, I pay. And what I wrote down was, I pay with joy and abundance. This to whoever it was. Then in the back of it I wrote down, this amount goes out into the world and comes back to me multiplied. When I used to go to my bank to pay stuff in, the people in the bank would look at me and people would start, oh, there's that guy coming, that crazy guy that writes stuff in the back of his checks. Well, guess what? The last laugh wasn't me. They don't even have jobs in banks anymore. This stuff works. This stuff absolutely works. Trust me. The first thing you got to do is get easy with the flow of money. Never spend money recklessly though. All the money you have to build your future, use it as investment. Don't just rush out and get a new car because you can. Think about, how better could I use that money in building my business? Maybe in recruiting someone to come and assist you, that you can delegate tasks to, that you're not really good at, but they could be amazing at. That frees you up to do what you have to do to build your business. Think about it. Think about that. Be careful with money. One of the huge lessons when you set out on this journey of manifesting goals. You've got to understand, your ego might not like this. You cannot do it on your own. It just doesn't work that way. In order to succeed, you've got to build relationships with other human beings. Some of them are transient. You could be sitting in a cafe, overhear a conversation, find the confidence to maybe interrupt and introduce yourself, and maybe ask them some questions about what you said, because you know that that might lead to some part of a progress for you, a step you could take, a phone call you could make, someone you could ask to be introduced to. Trust yourself to take those risks. Some of those relationships are transient, and some of them last a long, long time. People that maybe that come into your life that you might end up employing, that you might build an association with in business. Building relationships are critical. On my platform, there are some interesting programs about building relationships. You might want to go and look there. But apart from that, what is really important is especially about the balance of life thing. There's no point in working your butt off, building your business, building your career, if behind you there's no proper relationships, no primary relationship of love, of support, of nurturing one another, a partnership, a husband, a wife, a family. Looking after them is as important as building your business. Maintaining relationships with friends, all of that stuff is absolutely critical. Don't let them go at the expense of you thinking that you can build your business on your own. And at the end of the day, when you've amassed your wealth, if that's what you want to do, how are you going to use it? You're going to be a miser sitting with it, counting it somewhere, or are you going to use it to enjoy being with family, friends and loved ones, travelling around the world, meeting new people, building extraordinary relationships? And here's another thing about this. When you're focused on achieving your goals, you will attract people, places and opportunities. You will overhear a conversation in a cafe. You will overhear a conversation in a restaurant. You might be standing waiting on a train and you sit down with someone absolutely at random, and it turns out by having a conversation or on a plane that something magic happens. It leads to an opportunity. You can do something for them. They can do something for you. You know, life is amazing. And if you'll use these techniques, you will attract everything you need. It's just how it works. But you'll never attract any of it if you entertain negativity, that I can't do this, this won't work, I'm not good enough, and all that nonsense. Yes, you are. You deserve to succeed. Trust me, go for it. So in managing your time, which is actually the biggest resource, obviously, I've hinted at this before, you've got to make sure there's a balance. You're focused on activities that are building your business, building those relationships, nurturing them. You've got to make sure you put time into that, but you must put time into yourself. You must take time in, listen to this, your recreation as well as your work. You've got to have that balance. All work and no play, you know how that turns out. You've got to make sure that you have time for family, loved ones, friends, personal activities. And obviously, what's increasingly happening is you've got to be aware of how you're looking in terms of your health. You can't turn up to build a business if people take one look at you and think, well, you're not looking after yourself. How on earth would you look after me? Think about that. So what are you eating? What are you doing in terms of your exercise? What are you doing in terms of just having recreation, having time off, having fun? It's not just about building the business, it's the whole balance thing. And the more you're balanced, the more successful you are. So think about that. Go on, do this now. Go and look in the mirror. What do you need to do to get yourself sorted? If you'll invest in yourself, rise early in the morning. Use your time wisely, maybe exercise. Be careful about when you eat, what you eat, to make sure it's going to fuel you to get through the power of the day, not to take your energy away. Think about that. Just take a moment or two and think about your energy levels through the course of the last week. What were you eating before it? How did it impact you? What about exercise? Maybe you're overdoing exercise. Maybe you're doing far too much. Maybe you're not doing anything. Even at the simplest level, get yourself out in the sunshine if you can. Walk, go for a walk, and as you're walking, allow yourself to rehearse the successes that are coming. And then think about, of course, the good things you're going to be doing in your recreation, that weekend away, that holiday you're looking forward to, that day out with your family or loved ones, maybe that meal you're having tonight with a friend, maybe a loved one. It's all important. Managing your time is critical. Never waste any time. make sure you enjoy every single bit of it. And you know what? When you're chasing a business or you're chasing a career that inspires you, it will never feel like work. All of it is joyful. Again, being the 70-year-old entrepreneur with just an amazing personal journey, extraordinary. Here's one of the things that we have in Mindstore that is critical to all Mindstore people that I wish I knew when I was starting out, 20, getting into my career after university, long before I started my business. It is the understanding that every single thought you have reinforces what I would call programs you're running in your biocomputer. And the programs you run create the futures. If you allow yourself, and listen to this, the luxury, and it isn't a luxury, of one single negative thought, then you're going to ruin your life. Because one negative thought leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. Beginning to take control of your thoughts is the starting point of all success. And we have a technique in Mindstore. It came to me a way back when I first started out, when, believe it or not, personal computing was beginning to emerge. Tiny little computers a way back, and the emergence of so-called computer science. And one of the phrases a way back then was garbage in, garbage out. It was a simple understanding. If someone puts garbage into a computer, makes a mistake in what they're putting into a database, they'll only get garbage back out again. Do you know what? When you put garbage in your human brain by entertaining thoughts of failure, of things going wrong, massively you will undermine yourself. So I took the idea of computing and I created this catchphrase, delete that program. As soon as you find yourself entertaining a scenario in your mind where you're rehearsing something going wrong, or you realise you're using negative language, or even you're in a negative conversation, find yourself in your mind saying, delete that program. Understand it is a program. If you continue to follow through on it, it will manifest what you don't want. Delete that program and then replace your thoughts with positive thoughts. Now you can find out this type of thing and much more. Search elsewhere for Mindstore. Tons of material available for you. A lot of it's free, but a lot of it you can invest in. Extraordinary programs, big programs, short programs, stuff that will make a difference. Trust me, I've been doing this for a long, long time. 500,000 people. You can be one of them. Trust yourself. Mindstore works. It'll work for you. It's almost, listen to this, it's guaranteed. So thanks for watching. Remember to hit that like button. Remember to press the bell. Remember to share this with someone you know could benefit from watching it. Look down in the notes below and you'll have access to other platforms that I've got. But more importantly, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to make a comment. I'll come back, check them out, and I promise you I'll get back to you. I've never unknowingly let anyone down who gets in touch with me for help, support or encouragement. I'll do that for you. Feel free, make a comment. I really, really appreciate you watching this. I hope this has been useful. Watch the next one, it's probably better than this one. It'll help you on your journey. Cheers now, thank you, bye.